Good day, everybody. Norm Johnson from Enchanted Fibers. Here today, we're going to put together some film clips to show how we're making a Nuno felted scarf. So I think I have all my materials here to get us through, at least for the key components. So I have a piece of silk that we've dyed. This is silk gauze, and it's 16 inches wide and 7 feet long, so 84 inches. So I have my alpaca fiber. It's in a bat form that we're going to use. You may recall from other videos and things that using the bat is my preference. You can definitely use roving, or you can use wool top as well, whatever your preference may be. I have some viscose I'm going to use to cover the alpaca fiber, and I have some silk that I'll cut some pieces for, put that in there, and then I'll have some mohair that I'm going to use to put into this first a little structure, and I have a little bit of yarn that I'll be cutting pieces out of as well. Then I have my mosquito netting that we'll use to cover everything after it's wet, and you can see the pool noodle that we'll use to wrap things up as well. So we'll go through. We may stop and then start again, depending on the battery life of the equipment and things like that. So the first thing we've done, as you can see, is we've laid out the silk. I'm going to move some of these things out of the way for now. So, and again, we have our alpaca bat that we've made. We just send our some of our neck, our grade 2 fiber, not neck fiber. We use that for the dryer balls, but so we got grade 2 fiber that we'll send to the artisan mill. And they'll put that into the bat form for us and things. So just saves us a lot of time and effort as we're pulling those through. So I'm going to set this behind me on the counter. So you're going to see me turning around and things as we go. Move my work a little closer to me to get started. But so what I'm going to do is I pulled off a thin layer of the alpaca, and I'm going to go through and set it along the side, the edge, and lay it on. And I'm going to pull off a little bit. I may cover this up again as we come through. And again, we'll kind of pull this to the side. And you can see with the bat how quickly I can cover some area and get the fiber down on the silk. As you guys are aware, the Nuno felting process is really about connecting all these fibers that we're putting together. We have the silk gauze, we have the alpaca, we have the viscose. And we'll have the commercial fabrics. It's actually Marjolon silk. But it's to connect all those fibers together using hot water, using some friction, some soap. The water isn't hot, I should say, but it's room temperature. And again, this is how I do it. You're going to find many different methods. If you search the internet, you search YouTube, you'll find many different methods for Nuno felting a scarf. One of my favorite instructors is Lena Archbold. She has some membership classes. Excellent teacher. She has a cleaner studio than I do. As you can see behind me, I have my dye bottles. I think so. Again, this is my first layer. I'll put a second layer on here to make sure I have enough alpaca fiber. And as you can see, I have no rhyme or reason. I'm laying my fiber in here. I think this darker fawn, medium fawn, is going to go well with the silk that we dyed. We use the gold dye from ProChem. It's an acid dye. Here in Colorado, it's dry and drier. And there's a lot of static in the air. You know, my hands are a little dry from making fabric softeners the last few days, so trying to get that done as well. So, and again, you know, we've got this covered. We're going to just put on, you know, a second layer. Let me show you. I'm going to cross some of these. Just kind of overlap the fibers, you know, as we're going. So, if you guys have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments. This is going to be definitely on YouTube. Is where the destination of this video is going to go. So I'm going to start, again, I just have some Marjolon silk. I don't have any rhyme or reason for the way I cut this. Probably using some angles so I don't have a lot of straight lines. You can see, just kind of lay it out here on top of the fiber. Get a little bit of blue. Another piece of blue. I'll get some of this brown. Again, no rhyme or reason for the colors. Just thought they would go well here. Kind of work on the alpaca. Kind of work together, you know, as well. Get those. So I'm going to put a little yarn in here. It'll give it some structure. It's going to get covered up with the viscose, but you know, we'll still have a little bit of structure with it. So tangled, tangled, tangled. There's an end here somewhere. There we go. The one thing about felting with yarn that you need to be a little bit careful of is, while this is alpaca yarn, it's all twisted and tightly twisted, and then it's twisted some more to you know, to create the plies. That twisting just, you know, will require a little bit of extra effort to get the fibers to, you know, actually felt things. So just, you know, be aware of that, that when you're using yarns, you know, in your felting process, that it may take a little bit more effort to accomplish. So I'm going to set this aside now, and I'm going to grab some viscose. You can see I pulled off just a little bit, 4 or 5 inches. And what I like to do is actually just fluff it up in my hands. You know, I may pull it apart, pull parts of it apart and put it back in. And now I'm just going to pull from the middle. So I'll start on this end here. And I'll pull some out. We're just going to kind of lay that in here. You'll see this kind of the spider webs that get formed, a little bit structure. So, and some of it will be thicker than other places, and I don't worry too much about that. But that's better than pulling it out and everything being straight, at least in my opinion. So that's why I like this approach of putting it in here, my hand, and pulling from the center and placing it along. I'll place it along the edge, so try and have less of a brown edge in this particular, you know, scarf, with, because remember, once you apply the water, things are going to kind of spread out and things. So, but we'll straighten those up. I'll show you how I'm going to do that when we get there. So you get a lot of questions sometimes of, well, why alpaca? You know, why alpaca is really because we have close to 100 of them here on our farm, and so we shear them every May. They'll get sheared, and then we'll skirt and sort out the fiber, and we'll send it off to the artisan mill. You know, we'll have yarns made, we'll have rovings made, I'll have bats made for, you know, our felting process. I think so. So that's kind of why the alpaca. It is a little bit more challenging, I think, for felting, and I say challenging from the perspective that, you know, alpaca is really kind of a two-coated animal. They have secondary fibers and they have primary fibers. The primary fibers are always a little straighter. They have less hooks, scales, you know, on them. And so you'll find when you felt with alpaca that it's possible to get quite a bit of shedding in your finished product. So that's what, for me, the viscose helps to kind of cover that up. I'm covering up this, but you also notice in felt videos where they're felting with wool that a lot of the fiber gets covered up with viscose or other type of embellishments as well. So if you want, you can switch colors as you're kind of going through. I use different colors, but I tend to layer them versus maybe doing part of it one color and part of it another color. You definitely get a different effect. But these, where I layer the colors in, they work well for us. They sell well. So I guess for now, I'm not gonna mess up something that's working. Like using the viscose, and things. I get a shine out of the finished product. Gives it some structure, as well. As I said earlier, I feel it helps to minimize the shedding that we're going to get with alpaca. As I said earlier, I use a grade 2 and sometimes grade 3. We usually use our grade 1 for our yarns. Grade 2s go into yarns depending on the colors and things as well. So, for my felting process, I use a lot of black as a base color. Here I use the dark fawn, medium fawn as the base color. I try and stay with the natural colors, use those in my processes and activities. So if I'm going to use white and I want to dye it, I'll make something with the white fiber, and most often it's actually all white. I'll use the white silk, I'll use white alpaca, I'll use white mohair, I'll use white fabric if I choose to use the fabric. And when it's finished, then I'll put it in a dye process, and you can get some beautiful processes. You can create dye it so that you get a gradient color, set of colors, so you can dye parts of it one color, and maybe you can go from a dark shade to a lighter shade all in one color and all. I have done that. I like it. But I also don't like it. Partially because you don't get the mixture of colors as well, in a certain area. And I don't feel, again, this is my personal opinion, I don't feel I get the structure highlights of a mohair or something that's if it's all if a whole section is all one color from the dyeing process. So it's something to try if you want to try it. Like I said, I like it. You can put something in, basket or in an ice dyeing process, and you could use different shades of dye powder, on top of the ice, and try and get a different effect from from how it's dyed. Because I love ice dyeing. If you guys haven't noticed that from my other activities, yes, it's time consuming from a duration standpoint. There's very little effort. It's just kind of having the patience to wait for something to get finished and things. But if I can put something in an ice dye and walk away from it and work on something else. So, if I plan properly, there's something being dyed while I'm working on, another activity and things as we're going through. Got my scissors again. I have a little different yarn this time. But we're just gonna lay some pieces in here. This gives us a little bit more structure, because this is going to go from 1 inch high, 2 inches high with the way this is laid out, and it'll go down to be about 1/4 of an inch thick, maybe a 1/2 inch, but 1/4 of an inch. So have that. Yep, I'm going to take some of my mohair, and what I like to do with the mohair, because the scales are so low on the mohair, it's a item that takes a little bit longer to felt as well, similar to the twisted yarns. But so I'll pull these locks apart, and that helps it to felt with the other fibers, connect with the other fibers. And again, the purpose, I love working with the mohair. I get a beautiful structure from it. You get the augmented colors that are in there, from the dye process. Because we have a nice lock, but if you pull that open, the variation of color, is just it's natural from the dye process. Again, the mohair is a twisted lock, so the dye doesn't always go all the way through, but that works well for me, because I get that variation in color, out of one lock. If you're looking for a source for great mohair, I strongly recommend Nauman Angoras. They're in Bandera, Texas. You're not going to find any better mohair, in the country, in my opinion. I've purchased mohair from several different farms, and theirs is just the best for me, and so I buy from them whenever I see them at different fiber festivals and events. Great people to work with. always have a story to tell. But, they're my recommended source for mohair, from the Angora goats. I have one more color of viscose I'm going to use. You can find a lot of different sources of viscose and things on Etsy. There's a lot of vendors on Etsy that have viscose. Lena has viscose, or had viscose. I don't know, with some of the restrictions and things from COVID and transportation. So look around. You can find plenty of sources. Again, here, I'm covering up that yarn. Not with thin layers. I'm just using kind of a very thick layer, but I'm using a thin layer to kind of add a little bit of color, extra color to the darker blue. Maybe cover up some of the fawn spots from the alpaca. It's going to work its way through, and you'll have some of that in there as we go through that process. So I don't know what you guys felt, but hopefully you're having fun. I thoroughly enjoy this felting process. It's kind of a Zen activity for me. It's relaxing, I guess, in many ways. It's not overly, definitely not a tedious process. I think as part of it, I'm not trying to create a particular form or design. I see people that create flowers and things in their scarf designs or in their shawl designs, and this world needs those people, but I can guarantee you, and I just grabbed the wrong viscose, and I can guarantee you I'm not one of those people. So what I like, I don't know, sometimes I call it a mindless activity because I can throw things out here and enjoy the results and not be worried that my leaf of my flower moved and so it looks crooked. Okay, I think that's good. You can see the variation of colors in this activity. They'll come through in the scarf. So I'm going to move everything out of the way because the water is going to flow off of this bubble wrap, which I forgot to tell you, I do have bubble wrap on the bottom that that we use to kind of hold everything together or on top. So I'm ready to wet this down. I have a bowl of water and I have soap in it. You can use olive soap. I just prefer regular dishwashing detergent, liquid, and that I get from Costco. Many people highly recommend, Dawn soap. Your professional felters, I guess that's what I call them. But they definitely use the olive oil soap and things. So I'm still learning, still an amateur. I've never used olive soap, so I can't tell you if it was better than the liquid detergent. I don't know if Lena has ever compared. But I know she uses the olive oil soap frequently in her projects. So, okay, we're just wetting this down. This is I use this balzer type activity. It's just a rubber ball on a sprayer. I get quite a bit of water in here. You can use a regular spray bottle, if you would like. You don't get the volume of water through it, and sometimes the volume of water can be too much. If you get too much pressure, you move your fibers around and things. And if you feel you have, then you can definitely move them. And you'll find places that you thought you wetted down, but they still seem to be dry. Some of that really is, from the alpaca fiber. It's water resistant, and it's not waterproof, but it does take quite a bit of water to get wet. So I'm just kind of going back over these areas. Now what I'm going to do before I cover this up is I'm just going to go down the edges. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, but and just push these fibers in. Where the water's pushed them out. We'll just push them in on top of this edge of the silk. You can do this during your felting process, as well. I like to do it at the beginning, like we're doing now, kind of as a starting point. Definitely we'll do it again later, because I like the edges to be kind of as smooth and straight as possible. You're not going to get them 100% straight unless you cut them, which I don't advise, because if you cut the felted fibers, now you have loose ends, you have shorter fibers and things as well. And so in the felting process, the ends will go searching for fiber to connect to. And so you may get little feathers and things along your edges. But not that this will be 100% straight, but it'll be enough there. These edges they weren't really wet. Now you can see the edges are a little straighter. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover this up with my mosquito netting. I usually just start on one end. If I wet the project down ahead of time, then I can usually do this myself. If not, I will enlist the hands of anybody in the house to help. And so this mosquito netting is almost too short, but it actually covers everything up. And so the next step in our process is we're going to felt the edges. I have a little ceramic felting tool that I got from Dharma Trading. And I use that. I like to use that to start. And I'm going to go right along the edges and start just rubbing. You get the directions of this felting tool rubbing against the bubbles in the bubble wrap. Start helping the fibers start to move and connect together. And I'm going to go all the way around kind of the edge with this tool. You can see I kind of start from the outside and I work my way in. Some of that is, again, if you start pushing straight down on the fiber, you're going to push out some of the edges from the fiber that's there. So just try and start on the outside edge and work your way in. So I've gone all the way around. So now I'm just going to work my way down the scarf. Kind of pressing things down, and if you feel that there's a place that maybe needs some more water, add them. I have one of those spots right here, which the underlying alpaca fiber is not really wet, so I'll just help it along. I think you'll have that pretty well wetted down. Right now I'm going to kind of go back around the edge a little bit. Each time I go around, I'm applying a little bit more pressure. So let's set this aside. So I have a palm sander here from Heartfelt Silks. Great selection of tools. I like this little one. It fits nice. The handle fits nice in my hand. And again, I'm going to just do kind of a little bit different sections. So here I'm going to go kind of left to right. I'm going to go forwards and backwards. And can't encourage enough to make sure you work the edges, make sure everything is fine there. So again, probably helps. You can probably see on the video that I have sections here in my work table. That's because I've actually taken smaller tables and tied them together for my workspace. But so I'm doing kind of a 2-foot section at a time. Again, forwards and backwards and side to side. You're going to find YouTube videos where people use electric sanders to do this process. And I've never tried it. I know it works. I mean, you watch the beautiful results that they're able to create. We talked about the yarn. You can see your yarns through the mosquito netting. Make sure you're giving them a little more attention with the palm sander, putting some pressure on it to kind of help get more moisture and more soap into the yarn, and getting some of those fibers to move and connect, with the viscose, connect with the alpaca fiber. Different directions just to kind of help the fibers connect. The water and the soap that helps to open the scales on the natural fibers, and so as they're kind of moving around, they can those scales can interlock, and as we complete the process, we go through it, those scales will close and on each other, and that's really what helps the fibers to stay connected and things as well. So I'm just going to kind of look at this, do kind of a pinch test. It still needs to work through the silk a little bit. I'm going to go down the edge here and push these in a little bit more another time. Take my little tool and I'm going to work along the edges. You can see it can kind of push the fibers off the mosquito netting. They're not really felting into the mosquito netting, but yet they can. So I need to use a little caution on things. If you feel that along the way that there's too much water or too much soap, grab a towel and pick up that extra water. It never hurts to remove the water, because the more water you have, the more chances there are that the fibers are just kind of floating in the water and not connecting. So, just show you, just have a towel. This is actually just not a towel, it's just a piece of terry cloth that, I'd cut to make a towel. You can see there's a lot of dye colors in it. And just spread it, lay it on here, pat it down. Make sure it doesn't pull up your mosquito netting. So you can see all the mess and the clutter and things behind me. This is why I don't do more how-to videos. I don't really have that, don't feel I have that set up. It'd be great to have, a camera setting on top of here so you could maybe look down and see, how this is going, but I'm not really an instructor. I don't feel to be. I don't desire to be an instructor, but I love sharing, my process. I love sharing how I go about making different things. Roll this back a little bit and see. I feel like it's connected, it's felted. Maybe go over it a little bit more. Again, the goal is just you want the fibers to connect, but you also want them to start working through the silk. And roll this back here a little bit and see. Yep, the yarns are doing well. I think so. So let's cover that back up. I'll move this out of the way. I'm just going to remove the mosquito netting now. I try and just do a little bit at a time, just make sure everything is fine. For now, I'm going to throw it on the floor there. Now we're going to use our pool noodle. So we'll come down here to the end. Make sure it's kind of covered. We're just going to wrap. Roll this up and let's reuse the towel that I had used. If it's too wet, you can always get a different towel. But it wasn't that much water to pick up, so here's this process. I'm rolling it up in this towel, and we're just gonna roll it. I'm gonna use my arms to kind of roll things around. We're gonna do this for 4 or 5 minutes. So okay, so I'm back. Spent 4 or 5 minutes rolling. So I'm taking it, coming to the other end of the table, and unrolling it with my towel. I'm going to pick up my bubble wrap and lay it here. I'm going to pull the scarf off, lay the edges out, and we'll just continue to unroll it. And you can see, we started here at the edge of this tape with the end, and we're 4 or 5 inches short of that now. It's because it will shrink as it's felting, as it's fulling. The fibers will continue to connect together. So we're going to roll it the other direction. We'll pick up our package. You can tie this package with nylons so that keep it from moving that much. I tend not to on the smaller projects like this one. If I'm doing a bigger project, I will definitely use the nylons to tie the bubble wrap package together as we're going through. So now I'm just going to roll it. Come from this side. I don't know if you can see my arms, but just kind of lay them out. You can make a V with your hands, and so you can, as you're going forward, you're putting pressure on the middle, you're putting pressure on the outside. I like to try and make sure I get the edges rolled a lot, and with pressure. Again, I'm going to do this 4 or 5 minutes, so we'll cut away in the video and we'll come back when we're finished. Okay, so we've got through that. We'll unroll our towel, going to lay that out, and we're going to unroll our scarf. Got to make sure things are still the way we want them, our edges. So we're going to roll this up again. And we're going to go back and forth 2 or 3 more times. So this time we'll go about 3 minutes. And we'll go this direction. And we'll turn around. And we'll come back the other direction. And so, hey, welcome back, everybody. So I've unrolled this and turned it over. What I want to do is kind of work on the edges, and so just going to rub this back and forth. And the intent is just to kind of ensure the edges are secure. If there are places where the fiber is sticking out a lot further from the silk than I want it to, then I can address that as well. But just kind of rubbing this on the bubble wrap with my fingers, right along the edge. Here's an area that fiber is a little bit more than I want it to be. There. Now I'm just going to kind of rotate it around. And massage it. Got a little bit of water. Use my towel, just keep it from running on my feet. So we're going to head over to the wash tub, and we'll rinse the soap and the water out of it, and we'll get it ready for the drying and ironing process. Okay, I'm at the sink and running some water here, just kind of rinse this out, get the soap out the best we can. Let the water run out. Gonna put some water on the bottom of the sink, and gonna add some white vinegar. I get my vinegar at Costco or a big warehouse store. The vinegar will help with a couple things. It'll help remove the soap from the scarf. It will bring all of it back into a balanced pH as well. So the fibers will stop felting, searching out, even though they're wet. And we'll just allow it to sit here. I tend to we'll leave it here for an hour or two. I've rinsed the scarf. I rolled it in a towel to help dry it, so it's a damp dry. So now I'm going to iron it. I got the silk side up here, and so I'm going to smooth it out. I'll pull on the edges a little bit to just kind of help spread it out and work out some of the wrinkles. So essentially, that's where we are. We're going to iron this. Again, we can straighten some of the edges by pulling on them and iron it. No critiquing my ironing skills. And this is a good time if your edges have rolled, you can unroll them. So when we're working the edges earlier, sometimes the edges will roll, just based on the rubbing that we were doing and pushing against it and the bubble wrap. So. Once we get it ironed, we'll get a hanger, and we'll hang it up, let it finish drying. We'll take a picture, post it on the internet. And when we get finished ironing, we'll sit down at the computer and pull all the pieces together and create a video for YouTube. We'll cut some of the segments out and things as well. So, but the nice thing about YouTube is I can put up an hour video or so, and if somebody wants to be able to push ahead, they can. But they also can get all the details and things as well. So we'll be working on that. Gotten some feedback on my YouTube videos that they weren't detailed enough, so we'll leave the details in. It might be a little longer, and again, if somebody wants to pan forward, they can fast forward and move it ahead. So I want to thank you for your valuable time watching through this. If you have any questions, leave them below. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel. We're going to work harder in 2022 to put more videos out, more content, and share our information about our felting process, our alpacas, and our overall business environment here for Enchanted Fibers. So here's our scarf that we finished. It's been ironed and hung up to dry. We've ironed it again. And we're taking video of it here to add into our YouTube video. So we'll zoom in here a little bit closer. You can see the yarns, you can see the mohair, you can see the commercial silk. It's kind of as we work our way down this scarf. Hope you guys enjoyed this video of how we make a Nuno felted scarf here at Enchanted Fibers. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Click the bell for notifications of future releases. We appreciate your support of Enchanted Fibers. Have a great and blessed day. May your hearts be full of peace.